Hey, hello everyone. Thanks for joining us today for our Dynamics 365 customer engagement session today. We've still got a few people joining, so if y'all don't mind, I'm just going to put everybody on hold here for just a minute and just a minute or two and give folks just a couple more minutes to log in. So just hang tight and we will be back with you in just a minute. Thank you. Okay, hey, thanks everyone for hanging in with us there. We had some more people joining, and it is a couple minutes after 2 Eastern here, so I think we will go ahead and get started. So again, I wanted to welcome you to our session today on Dynamics 365 customer engagement. We'll be focusing today on upgrading from Dynamics CRM on-prem to Dynamics 365 online. Just a couple quick housekeeping items I want to cover before we get started. We do have everybody in listen only mode. That way we can eliminate a lot of the background noise and such associated with that. But we certainly do want to make sure that we cover any questions that you guys might have during our presentation today. So I would ask that if you've got questions, and again, we encourage those, please submit those through the GoToWebinar question box on your panel there. We certainly will be taking time at the end of our session here to answer any questions that you might have. We are also recording today's webinar. You will get a follow-up email tomorrow with a link to this so that you can come back and view this again if you would like to. So we've got a couple folks here from Velocio that will be taking you through our session today. We have Misty Clark, who is our customer sales manager. She will be joining us in just a few seconds, but we're going to start with Erica Ellis, who is a principal consultant for our D365 CE practice. So I think Erica is going to get us started first and take you through her portion, and then Misty will join us here on more towards the back end. So with that, Erica, I am going to turn things over to you.
All right, thanks, Rocky. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for attending this webinar. Appreciate your time. As Rocky said, my name is Erica Ellis. I'm a principal consultant at Velocio out of our Atlanta office, and I've been a consultant with Velocio and with D365 for about 3 years, but I've been working with the product for about 8 years now. And the first 5 years of my career I was a system administrator for a company that used Dynamic CRM on-premise. And so a lot of my history is actually with the on-premise product until I became a consultant and saw the wonderful world of D365 online. So I'm excited to share with you guys today some of the benefits of working with D365 online and some of the things that I saw and experiences I had in learning about that new version when I did. So I'm actually just going to skip through a couple of these slides that Misty's going to cover for us at the end of the presentation. All right, so our agenda on talking about why you might be interested in moving from CRM on-premise to D365 online, what we're going to do is start off and just talk a little bit about D365 online, just making sure we're all on the same page about what that means to you guys and to your users. And then we're going to look at a couple of the benefits of being on D365 online, looking at simplified IT management, how it can enable digital transformation, and then looking at, the D365 capabilities, features, and functionalities that come with the online version that you might not necessarily be getting with the on-premise version. And then I'm going to finish up talking a bit about how you could approach a migration to online and the different considerations that you should have with that process. So to start off, what is D365 Online? Well, D365 Online is a version of CRM. So it is a version of what you're used to today, but it's the latest version. So when we're talking about features and functionality, D365 Online is going to be that latest version. It's also going to be hosted by Microsoft, which means that you can access D365 from anywhere. It's as if you have your on-premise version exposed to the internet so that your users can access it anywhere. That's how online works all the time. So it's hosted at one of Microsoft's regional data centers. They've got a number of them all over the world. And when you have D365 online, that means that you're in Microsoft's data center, therefore you're working with their infrastructure, and the availability of that infrastructure is high availability, right? You're not going to be going down or anything like that all the time. D365 Online is paid for with subscription licensing versus purchasing the licensing up front. And when you have that licensing, you actually have the option to have multiple D365 instances. So, in the world today, you may have separate databases for development and testing and things like that. You can have that same thing in online. Within one environment, you can have a production environment and multiple sandbox environments to handle your dev work and your testing and your training and things like that. Those D365 online licenses also give you use to other Microsoft programs. So later on in this presentation, we'll talk about some of the other things that are included in those licenses and things that you might want to take advantage of. And then lastly, being a part of that Microsoft data center, you've got disaster recovery taken care of for you, and you also have automated backups. So some of those IT things you no longer have to worry about. And those are the types of things that I wanted to talk about first when we talked about the different benefits of moving online. The IT area is really where you see a lot of the biggest benefits, cost savings, and less headaches and things like that. So we're going to talk about these IT benefits in 4 areas. We'll start off and we'll talk about the infrastructure of the Microsoft data center. Then we'll talk about how this move affects upgrades to D365. So when you're online, the upgrade process is a little bit different than when you're on premise. We'll talk about disaster recovery, and then we'll finish off just talking about, in general, the different costs that are reduced by moving online. So when talking about infrastructure, I've got in here, I'm calling it upgraded infrastructure. And the reason why is because Microsoft spends a lot of time and a lot of money making sure that they have state-of-the-art servers and other tools inside their data center to make sure it's operating in the best possible way for their customers. And when you're trying to replicate that same thing in-house, it can be pretty difficult. Not saying it's not possible, but it's more difficult, right, for a single company to match what Microsoft is doing with all of the money they invest in their data centers. So that's why I'm calling it upgraded infrastructure. And when you move to D365 Online, you've got access to it, right? That's the infrastructure that you then have because Microsoft is hosting your environments. And so that means you not only have those state-of-the-art servers and environments that I was talking about, but all of the supporting software as well. So, today when you're working with your on-premise environment, you're dealing with things like what version of SQL am I on and what server am I on and what's the operating system of that server. Well, when you move to the Microsoft data center, those are no longer your concerns because those um, products, hardware and software products that are out there are things that Microsoft is now responsible for upgrading. So you get that latest and greatest technology without worrying about how to get there and how to pay for it. It comes as part of the online package. Microsoft invests close to $1 billion a year in security alone. Now, mind you, that isn't just for D365, that's for, all of their different data centers and products, but it still puts quite a number on how much time and money they spend in making sure that they are delivering the best infrastructure possible. In terms of security for the data center, I kind of look at it in two different ways. You've got physical security, right? So when we're talking about a Microsoft data center, we're talking about a physical place where your data is stored. And so, they make sure with these data centers that there's security around that physical location. Who can access that location? They segment the networks, so they're not connected and there's less risk there. There's also network security. So they've got industry standard encryption with their data centers. And there's the availability when you're logging into D365 Online to have things like multi-factor authentication. So they're definitely taking into account all of these different things that you would be thinking about if you were, as you are running CRM on-premise, security and technology and things like that, networks, things like that. The next thing that I wanted to talk about was disaster recovery. So disaster recovery, I think about in a couple of different angles as well. So first, when we talk about disaster recovery, it could be something like a natural event, right? Fires or tornadoes, hurricanes, that sort of thing. And so there are things deployed in the Microsoft data centers that I would categorize as disaster prevention. So their data centers are built with redundant power sources so that if you do lose power, there are backup power sources for the data center. The servers are seismically braced for things like earthquakes and things like that. And then they've got the latest in fire prevention in all of their data centers too. So in terms of handling a natural disaster, the data centers are built to try to survive those things on its own, right? And with all of this information that I'm talking about, I do have a couple of documents provided by Microsoft that talks through some of the details of these, right? So I'm just kind of giving you guys an overview today, but what I can do is make those documents available to you guys after this webinar so you can reference them later and have some more of the specific details. So that's disaster recovery in terms of disaster prevention. But let's say that we're not able to prevent that disaster. Microsoft also has full failover capabilities with D365 Online with a redundant network for up to 99.9% availability of the product. So that's pretty good if there is some sort of disaster, it's not going to have a long-term effect for you. So that kind of disaster, I think about as a disaster that's affecting the entire data center or multiple servers or customers within that same data center. But then I think there's also another type of disaster that may be a disaster that happens internally just to you. So for example, we've had clients before who had users who accidentally maybe published customizations in CRM that they didn't intend to, or deleted data or updated data in a mass way and didn't mean to. So it's a disaster that's a big deal to the client, and they need to revert back to an earlier version, but it's not something that affects anybody else in Microsoft's data centers. Well, one thing I really like about D365 Online is that there's the ability through a very easy to use portal to handle some of those things yourself. So for example, through the admin portal, you can go in and you can restore your D365 online environment to a previously made backup with just a couple of clicks of the button. And I make that sound really easy. It's not easy to do it accidentally. So just to clarify, it's a couple of clicks of the button, but they have to be very deliberate. So, when you're thinking about that backup, the D365 online environment is backed up nightly for you. And then you do have the option to, again, with just a couple of clicks, have a backup made at any point on your own as well. So if you did have one of these situations where somebody did something with the data and you need to revert back, you've got the option to be able to restore a nightly backup on your own. And then you've got some further options as well if you needed to get something more recent than nightly. Those you would just need to involve the Microsoft support desk for something like that. So there is the ability. It just isn't done entirely on your own. Next thing I wanted to talk about was the upgrades with D365 Online. So I remember back when I was the system administrator for Dynamics on-premise environment, and when we talked about upgrades, it was a big deal. There was a lot of considerations you had to make. You had to think about, what version of SQL are you on, and how long will it take to actually upgrade the software and upgrade SQL and maybe make changes to the server and things like that. So we were often talking about downtime to get these things done. And all of those conversations were really just around getting the software upgraded. It was never about implementing new functionality and things like that. That was a separate conversation. Well, what's great about D365 Online is you don't have to have that first half of the conversation. When you're thinking about new features and new functionality in the product, your conversation is not about upgrading the software. Your conversation and your planning is about how to best implement new features and get your users to adopt them and make their lives easier and things like that. And the reason why is because Microsoft is focused on, and this is a bit of a newer focus for them, in having D365 Online, all of their customers be a single version. So the idea behind this is that Microsoft has all of the D365 environments on one version, and when new features and functionality are available, it isn't that you are upgrading your environment. Instead, the software is applied to your environment on a schedule, and you enable what features you want. So for example, if there was a new version coming out, Microsoft would let you know several months ahead of time that this new version was coming. They would allow you to have early access to that version to be able to see the new features and see the new functionality. And then they would assign you a date in which your software would be upgraded. And with that upgrade, all of the new features and functionality of that new version would be disabled in your environment, and you could choose when to enable them. So with this, there's less planning on your part about when to get new features, and instead you can focus your energy on how best to implement those new features and what they mean for your environment. Now with that, you do have easy access to early access to the new functionality that's coming out. So you do have the ability to plan for these upgrades and things like that. It's not that it's just dropped on you with no notice or anything like that. They've definitely built in the ability to plan for things like that. And the last thing I wanted to talk about from an IT perspective is sometimes the most important, and that has to do with reducing the costs that you spend on running dynamic CRM on-premise. Forrester Total Economic Impact Report shows that the total cost of ownership by companies is reduced by 10.25% when they move to the cloud. And that's a 40% reduction in administrative expenses. So all of those things that I was talking about before in terms of, making sure you're on the latest SQL and hardware and planning your upgrades and things like that. When those things are done for you, then you recognize those reduced costs and you save money on that infrastructure. Now you are paying a monthly fee for that to be online, but it does include all of those different things. And what's also nice about that subscription license model for online is that you can more easily budget for what CRM is going to cost you. You don't have to worry about unnecessary or unplanned server replacements and upgrades and things like that. You know what that ongoing cost is going to be. And then the last area where you can possibly recognize some reduced cost is when it comes to your skilled resources. So when you're running an on-premise environment, in order to support that on-premise environment, you need resources that focus on server management and databases and Active Directory and things like that, IIS. Well, those same skilled resources can now refocus their efforts elsewhere. Maybe it's bringing in new technology for the company in other areas to, have more digital transformation and that sort of thing. So your skilled resources can focus more on moving the company forward instead of just maintaining this environment that you already have. So a lot of good benefits around the IT realm in moving to online. And like I said, I've got a couple of documents from Microsoft that I'll make sure you guys get as well on that provides more detail. The next area of benefits that I want to talk about is in regards to digital transformation. So when we talk about D365 Online, we are not just talking about a single application. If you've been following anything that Microsoft is touting and talking about, writing blogs and having conferences on and things like that in the past couple of years, you'll know that their vision of CRM has changed from being a single application to being one piece of an entire ecosystem. So it could be that it's different models with modules within D365. So, we've got D365 for sales, which might be what you think of as CRM today, but then there are modules for marketing and field service and project service. And within that ecosystem, we also have all of the other cloud-based products that Microsoft has been focusing on. We've got the Power Platform and other ones like that. And I'm going to talk through a couple more of these in our next slide. But the point with this is it's no longer just CRM, it's this whole ecosystem. And this ecosystem is designed to enhance your productivity. And so the productivity may not just be enhanced within CRM, it may be other applications that spread that enhanced productivity to other areas. With this ecosystem, we also have the benefits of having centralized data more than just the CRM data. You can bring other applications into this ecosystem and have all of your data synchronized, centralized in one place. Now, this next slide I'm about to show you are a lot of these products I'm talking about in this new ecosystem. And I do want to say, it's not that these aren't available if you're on premise. Most of them are, some of them aren't, but most of them are available if you're on premise. However, the effort to implement them and the effort to get them to work with CRM is so much easier and less costly if you are running CRM online. So here's a real busy diagram I have that just shows a bit about that ecosystem. And again, if you've been following anything that Microsoft's been talking about over the past couple of years, you might have even seen this ecosystem diagram already. So you can see up here at the top, we've got the Dynamics 365 part of things. So the D365 product has all of these different modules. Some of them you're probably familiar with, like sales and customer service, but you can see I mentioned marketing before and project service and field service. We've also got talent in there and back office systems in there. There's also the Power Platform that I mentioned. This is the combination of Power BI, Power Apps, and Flow. All three of those products are designed to, again, enhance productivity. So, with Power Apps and with Flow in particular, you can take other applications that maybe today have nothing to do with CRM, but would really benefit if they were connected to CRM. You could bring those into that same ecosystem, connect them, have more automation, have more centralized data, have your users doing less keystrokes and more making decisions based on data, right? So enhancing their productivity. There's also a lot of functionality out there around Azure with IoT and artificial intelligence and things like that. So you can see that the Azure services offer a lot as well. And again, all of this is part of that cloud application ecosystem. And then this last one I wanted to talk about over here on the left is you probably recognize all of those applications, right? That's part of Office 365. And so you are probably using many of those applications today, if not all of them. And so they're part of this cloud ecosystem too. So, having these products using these inline and then online, and then also using D365 online, you're going to see that the products work very well together. They connect very well together, especially when you incorporate some of these other things like Flow. And what I really like about the D365 online product is a lot of the licensing that you see out there includes with it already some of these other cloud products. So in looking at this ecosystem, you may be thinking, okay, Erica, well, now I have to pay for all of these additional things. Well, in some situations you do, right? They're definitely add-on products, but there are licensing options available that do include some of these other things with it when you buy D365 online licenses. So what you're able to do with this ecosystem, if you've got D365 online and you leverage some of these other things, is really promote agility within your organization. An organization that focuses on being more agile is an organization that can adapt to the changing needs of their customers. And that's really what we want to focus on, right? Is what do our customers need? How do we best serve them? So what are the tools that we can have in place in order to meet their needs? And to be honest, who doesn't have customers these days whose needs are changing? Their need and how we service them is changing, and how we sell to them is changing, and things like that. And so while CRM on-premise does have some ability to be agile, as you could see with my previous slides, when we've got this online ecosystem of all of these different tools, it really allows us to be more agile, be able to implement things more quickly, enhance our productivity more quickly and more easily. All right, the next thing I wanted to talk about was some of the features in CRM Online. So, I said on one of my very first slides that D365 for customer engagement online is the latest version of CRM. So you've got your on-premise version of CRM today. This is a more recent version. And on top of that, there are features in which Microsoft has said, we are not going to make these features available on premise. So online really is a different CRM than what you guys are operating today. And so what I have here is a list of all of the different things that today are um, available online but aren't available on premise. And some of these may never be available on premise. Some of them Microsoft may decide to make on premise, but some of them may never be available. And some of them are included in D365 Online as well. Not all of them, but some of them are. So you can see I kind of categorize these really big deal and pretty big deal. I'm not going to read all of these out to you, and those categorizations are really just my opinion. I was just trying to, say we've got some things that are some big pieces of functionality that you only get if you're online. But you may find that some of those things that I just said was kind of a pretty big deal, maybe most important to you. I also want to point out as I look at a couple of these features that are on here is that a lot of these features are Microsoft's latest and greatest features. What we are seeing more and more is that when Microsoft is introducing a new feature, they are saying it's online only. Um, you know, uh, PSA, Project Service Automation for D365 is a good example. Now, this module did come out a couple of years ago, but it's only been available online. And I often see people asking, when can I get this on premise? And I haven't heard that Microsoft is planning on making it available on premise. So that's a good example. Playbooks is one of the latest features that Microsoft has introduced, and that's an online only feature. And then we've got some of these ones that are really popular and easy to use with users and really help enhance their productivity in many ways, which is the Excel online integration and the Word online integration with those. So a lot of different things on here. You may be looking at some of the things on this list and saying, I've never even heard of that. I didn't even know that was a feature. And again, that would be because you were on premise. I know that when I used to be a system administrator for an on-premise environment, that was something that happened to me often. I would be looking at something for CRM and see mention of a feature online and just think, I have no idea what that is. And I would do some research and find that it wasn't something that was available to me yet. Microsoft was being very vague about when it would be available on-prem, or it was something that was available in a later version. So it might have been something really simple that I wanted to implement soon, but it would have been a big costly upgrade in order for me to be able to get that functionality in there. The last one I wanted to point out on here was web portals. I had mentioned earlier that some of the features on here are free with D365 Online, and web portals is one of them. You do get one free web portal environment with your D365 Online licenses. So again, just another kind of side bonus of moving to that is some of the free features that you would not get if you were continued to be CRM on premise. All
Hey,
right, so
Erica, this is Misty. I just wanted to add, if you want to go back to that slide, since Joe's on from Avidex, and he's very interested in field service, that's also a really big deal. Just like project service automation that's online as well. So I think Joe would that would go under that list as well, Joe.
great.
He can't say anything because he's on mute, but I just wanted to add that for him.
We'll imagine him nodding enthusiastically.
Enthusiastically, exactly. Thank you.
All right, so I've talked through a lot of compelling reasons to move online and, a lot of the benefits to move online. I know a lot of people, a lot of customers that I talk to recognize those benefits and, definitely want to make that move. But then it comes down to the conversation of how do we make that move? And so the next couple of slides that I'm going to talk through I'm going to try to make it as least complicated as possible. But I do just want to say that the biggest thing about how to move online is that it really depends on your current situation. So I'm going to talk through some high level things, some high level considerations and stuff like that, but it really is a individual conversation about your specific environment that allows you to determine the best approach to moving online. So in my attempt to simplify it, I came up with 3 different approach options here. And the best approach, again, really depends on what version you're on and what your needs are in your new environment. So the important questions to ask your organization when you're thinking about moving online is, how much of your current setup and data do you need moving forward? And then second, do you want to take this opportunity of when you move online to also implement new functionality? So I was talking before about all these things that you have available to you when you're in D365 online. Well, do you want to make the move and not take advantage of all of those things? Or do you want to make the move and take advantage of all of those things at the same time? So as you kind of think through those 2 questions and you answer those 2 questions, you might fall into one of these different approaches that you have up here. So the first one is the one I've labeled A. This one is, you want to implement a new environment and start completely fresh. So that is exactly what it sounds like. This is as if you're implementing a new product. You start, designing out what the product will be and implementing it, and you start fresh without any data. From a complexity of the move standpoint, this is an easier one, right? We don't have to think about how to move things and how to align things and stuff like that. But in a lot of situations, that's not a feasible option. Sometimes it is. We do have some customers that do that, but not all the time. So the next option you might want to consider is taking your current configuration and moving it online, and taking your data and moving it online. So this is, a situation where you're basically taking as is today and moving it online. That enables you to have all of the benefits of the IT infrastructure that I talked about, and it enables you to, in the future, implement all of those other features and things like that. But for today, for the migration, all you're doing is moving things as is. And when you do that, there are tools out there that exist that make this process easier. In some situations, they may require that you upgrade to the latest version of CRM on premise first, but after that part, it's more of a kind of a turnkey move because you're keeping everything all the same. There are several different tools. Again, it really depends on your situation, how big your environment is, that sort of thing, as to what tool would work best for you. But they do exist, so we can talk through those on an individual basis. And then the last option that you have on here, the one I've labeled C, this option allows you to see the immediate value of the new functionality that's in CRM Online. And I like this approach, although it does make for a bigger project. I like this approach because it's a really great way to get user buy-in for this, right? If you are just moving online and most of the user experience stays the same, sometimes the users are going, oh, I don't know why we went through all of that. Well, if you're able to immediately also implement some of this new functionality that's going to make their lives a lot easier, then they see the value of that move online a lot faster. Now, this last option C, what we're talking about here is the configuration from your current CRM environment. You move online, but perhaps as part of that process, we do a bit of a redesign. So if there's, parts of your CRM that was designed several years ago, maybe for processes that are outdated or things that you guys aren't doing anymore, now is a good opportunity to revisit those and say, okay, how can we make D365 Online work best for us versus how can we just continue the way we are today? So redesigning that configuration before you move it online, moving your data online, and then as part of that redesign, also implementing any new functionality that you might want to include in that. Now, I put these into 3 different boxes, but really it could be a combination of many of those things or several of these things, or it could also be parts of this, right? So when I talk about moving data online, that may not necessarily mean moving all of your data online. You may choose to move your customer records online, but decide that you don't need support cases from 8 years ago moved online, right? So you can have, some of those options and stuff as well. And so again, it really comes down to what is your situation, what will work best for you as to what approach we use. So all of those different approaches and things I talk through really boils down to these factors to consider. What's the current version of your CRM environment today? And with that current version, if we were to upgrade you to the latest version, do you have any and how many unsupported customizations? So as you move between the different on-premise environments, getting up to the latest and greatest D365, you may find that some of the customizations that you have out there are no longer supported. And so they'll have to be replaced with the latest and greatest technology within the system. And so we would need to identify what those are and plan for those things. You'd also need to...
Erica, real quick, I just wanted to mention that in the unsupported customizations, what we have found in the past is that a lot of times the new functionality that comes with Dynamics 365 can automatically replace that, which I think you talked about in an earlier slide, but I just wanted to mention it again in this because it's not a deal breaker if they have unsupported customization.
Correct, absolutely. And not only replace it, but sometimes enhance it as well, right? So you may be using an outdated piece of functionality that Microsoft got rid of because Microsoft replaced it with something much better. And so, we say unsupported customizations, it has about a bit of a negative tone, but really that could be quite a positive in enhancing the way you're doing things and using the product. So then the next thing here is what functionality do you want to have online? So do you want to have a redesign of your current functionality? Do you want to implement new functionality? And then lastly, the same sort of thing with data. Do you want all of your data moved to the cloud, or do you want to take this opportunity to cleanse your data, get rid of some of the old cases or sales opportunities or leads that you have in there? Maybe it's getting rid of duplicates, pulling some of that data out, not bringing as much over, manipulating that data if you need to support any new processes that you have. So, if you're wanting to do all of these different things with your data, if you're wanting to do all this different things with the functionality, then that obviously has an effect on how you move to the cloud. Now, with all of this stuff, I've really been focusing on the CRM side of things, but there's also other considerations about what is connected to your CRM, and that's part of the things that you need to consider as well. Do I have other products that are integrated into CRM? Do I have other tools that read off of the CRM database, that sort of thing, that are part of that consideration? So what we recommend as a process in terms of figuring out what's the best approach for you is first to have kind of an evaluation phase. And there are two parts to this evaluation phase. One is to work with Velocio to have us review your current environment. Here's where we can identify things like, do you have unsupported customizations? Do you have other systems integrated into this that need to be considered? What does your data look like? What does your configuration look like? That sort of thing. So we can review your actual physical environment and see what components need to be considered to move it to the cloud. And then the second part of the evaluation phase is working with you guys to evaluate what you want to do with the new functionality available. So showing you the latest and greatest D365 features and functionalities and seeing what you want to use. It could be that you want to implement some Microsoft Flow, or you want to implement task flows or the new user interface or things like that. So really just kind of showing you what's out there and what you want to implement. And so once we've done the evaluation of those two areas, then we plan, right? We decide, okay, of everything that we know now, what configurations do we want to bring online? What data do we want to bring online? And we plan out that approach and we figure out, all right, what's the best tool to use to make this move? And what's the timeline for this and things like that. When we actually come to implement this move online, we do our standard implementation deployment things that you would expect. You know, you've got a sandbox environment and a production environment, and we can make the move to a sandbox environment for testing and training and all of that good stuff. One thing I like about the D365 online environment is Microsoft recently introduced the ability to have as many environments as you want. So if you want a production in 3 different sandbox environments, then you can have that, and they really approach it more as an overall storage capacity versus a number of environments, which is a nice change from, you know, back when I was working on premise. You know, it was in order to have an additional environment, it often meant another server and definitely another database and definitely some extra headaches. So it's nice that they've introduced this multiple environment option online. All right, so with all of that said, I was going to turn it over to Misty now so that she could talk a bit about the licensing and next steps.
Hello. Thank you very much. So the first thing that I want to talk about is just explain how the online packaging works, right? So those of you on the line are probably used to software assurance where you buy it, you get all the functionality, and whether you use all the functionality or not, you have to purchase all of it. The way the Dynamics 365 Online is set up is that you can buy limited functionality or you can buy it all. You have a lot more choices. So if you're looking at this, you see the individual applications. Dynamics 365 works a little bit kind of like how your iPhone would work, in that you can get apps. And so each one of these is going to be its own app: sales, field service, customer service, project service automation. And then additionally, there are power apps out there on the App Store that you can go out and you can purchase some for, like Power BI, which is, you know, $9.99 a user, or there's some out there that are free that, you know, might fit your business and you can use. So to get access to the App Store and to download those apps, you know, you can buy that individually. You can buy the sales application individually, customer service individually, or you can get access to all of it by getting the Enterprise Edition plan itself. Additionally, you see this little line down here that is says team members. Team members is a great option for somebody who really doesn't need to have all the functionality, but would like to have some visibility, like C-suite or leadership who needs to have a dashboard or might talk to a client every once in a while and keep notes in there. But, you know, they're not going to be owning anything or need to, you know, have a lot of work to do in Dynamics 365. And then if we go to the next slide, one thing that I really want to point out is that these licenses are set up to move with you, right? So if you're in the middle of your software assurance plan right now, in the middle of your engagement, or if you're getting ready to move and you're getting ready to renew and you know that you want to do it in the next couple of years, you don't want to start a new software assurance engagement, but you're not quite ready to move yet. These online licenses give you dual use rights. And what that means is you can keep working on-premise just like you're working right now, and then you also get a cloud instance of a sandbox and a production instance as well to start migrating data over, or you know, working and setting that up that fits your timeline, so that you don't have to hurry up and get it all done because the licenses are moving over. The big question is going to be is cost, right? And what I cannot tell you offhand is what it's going to cost to renew your software assurance. The way that Microsoft set this up is that I guarantee everybody on this call purchased at different times and purchased different things. So you have a different plan. So in looking at the next slide, your software assurance is TBA, right? So what cost you would pay. for that. However, I can highlight a couple options that you would have if you wanted to do the cloud add-on. So first and foremost, if you are current with your on-prem software assurance, so that means you're like in the middle of it and you know that you want to move online right now and you want that online instance, you can get the monthly subscription for $49.70 a user. It only is available for the customer engagement plan. So that's going to get you all the applications. You can't buy the individual apps at this discounted price because, frankly, this is just much, much cheaper. It's a very, very good deal. Or you could go ahead and move to the monthly cloud-based licensing if you have software assurance. So say you're up for renewal and you don't want to renew on software assurance, you want to go ahead and move online and buy those, then you can buy those for $69 a month if you have software assurance. So this is what's going to apply to the majority of the people on the call. You have two options. If it's renewal time, you can buy the customer engagement plan for $69 a month or the team member. Or if you're ready to move online and you're just curious how much the monthly licensing cost would be, your software assurance is still active, you still have to complete that, but they'll give you even larger discount at $50 a month. Now, let's say you don't have software assurance. I don't think that applies to anybody on here, but the next slide kind of lays out what the cost would be if you didn't have software assurance, and they still give you a discounted rate, but just not as much. If you wanted to get that plan license, it's $86.30 a month. If you wanted to buy just sales or just customer service, it's $76 a month. Now, you'll notice that you don't see field service or project service automation on here. Since that is new functionality that was not part of Dynamic CRM previously, you don't get a discounted rate for that. But Erica, if you wouldn't mind just going back to the last slide, you'll notice that on this last slide, you get the customer engagement plan license with both of these offers that Microsoft is offering right now. So you can essentially get the field service licensing or project service automation licensing for a very, very low price. The question that you're probably asking in your heads right now, well, Missy, how long is Microsoft going to honor that price? And, they have not committed to a certain time, but these subscriptions last for at least 1 year from the time that you purchase it. And while Microsoft can change prices at any time, for the last 3 years, they have not changed this. So I don't anticipate that changing anytime soon. And, we can definitely talk through this a little bit more if you want to talk to me more or ask questions at the end. So that's that about that. I wanted to hit on a couple things of what's next and just kind of give you guys an update. If you have questions about licensing or anything like Erica said, we can definitely go back to that at the end. But first and foremost, I just wanted to make sure that you guys have information about the way to open a client care ticket. We have a new client care email and ticketing system. A lot of you already reach out to Bridget directly or even myself directly or your client success manager. But this is an option to make sure you're covered if, your client success manager is traveling or Bridget's sick that day. You can just email crmsupport@velasio.com. And when you email crmsupport@velasio.com, a ticket is automatically created for you and someone will reach out to you very shortly. This is perfect in case, like I said, somebody's traveling out of the office or on PTO. And one thing to note is when someone emails us for support, we normally will create a ticket anyways. So it's always a good measure to just CC this email anyways, and then you know that you're covered on both options. Just wanted to hit on this next slide so that you have a ways to stay connected. You can subscribe to our emails for our marketing emails. Feel free to invite coworkers to subscribe to this email list. You can as well. We do lots of webinars, not just the one like this that we reached out to you for. You can follow us on Facebook or follow our Velasio blog. You can just get on our website and go to blog and you can follow that. We have a lot of guest writers, like our consultants and things like that, where we talk about things like that, what we talked about today. As well as please visit our events page where you will see lots of events like the one that we're talking about today, as well as, new ones talking about spring release, power apps, new ERP programs that are coming out. So please feel free to visit our events page on that. Another thing I wanted to talk about quickly that normally, first of all, contact your client success manager, myself or Tammy Corso, if you have any questions to get started. But I wanted to talk a little bit about why Velasio and the experience that we bring to that. Erica, if you can jump over to that section, the why Velasio section. slide 4 specifically. Okay, great, thank you. So I just wanted to, highlight some things, the reason and how Velocity is going to bring a lot of value to you when it comes to these online moves, and just keeping you updated. You may not be ready to move online right now, and that's okay, because we're still going to support you on premise as things change and as things grow, as you guys are all aware of that. But, I just wanted to highlight a couple things is, as you are probably aware, Velocity supports one of the largest client bases for Microsoft business apps in the world. And we're a leader in the Microsoft industry. And Microsoft recognizes that because we're one of the only partners to be included 22 times in Microsoft's Inner Circle Club. And our goal is always to serve our clients first and foremost, but these third-party endorsements help our clients understand when they're making that safe choice to partner with us. So I wanted to highlight that. Additionally, I want to talk a little bit about some of the collective engagements that we've worked on and how we're an industry leader as Microsoft grows Dynamics 365. So we are one of the only Microsoft partners who's been entrusted to operate a partner ecosystem with over 150 affiliates through our Stratos marketplace. What that means is we work closely with Microsoft, and we're responsible for helping other Microsoft partners bring cloud to fruition. So we're a cloud leader in that aspect. So it's really important to recognize that as we're talking about moving you there, that we have a lot of experience with that and managing other clients on the cloud, as well as helping bring clients from on-premise over there. Because, over the last 30 years, we've collectively worked on, well over almost 9,000 engagements, and these industry awards come and show for us that our consulting services and these industry solutions help with this growth. Another thing to note is that our proprietary solutions, which we developed alongside Microsoft, complement these Dynamics 365 solutions that are already out there. So you'll see on the screen Progressive and Axio, the Stratos that I just mentioned. These are all client services that we provide to you regardless. So you'll see the client call center that we just mentioned, the 24/7 support, and the Progressive and Axio, all to say, we have well over 4,000 clients that we have helped in this mid-sized company through, if you want to go to the next slide, Erica kind of just shows everybody's logos, that we're helping to either move to the cloud or they've already gone to the cloud in different aspects. With that, that's pretty much all I have to say. I wanted to kind of jump all the way back down to slide 33 and 34, and maybe take a few questions if we have time, Rocky. I'm not sure.
Actually, we are just about 1 minute from the end here, and I will say that you and Erica must have done a great job. We do not have any questions, which is, I think, a testament to the detail of what you guys put together. So let me just go ahead and wrap up if we can here, because we're just about a minute away from 3 Eastern here. So thank you all again for attending. We certainly appreciate you taking your time today. Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Misty. A reminder, as Erica mentioned, you will be receiving some of the Microsoft handouts and documents that Erica mentioned. We will get those out to you first thing tomorrow, as well, in addition, a recording of this session. If you do have any follow-up questions, which you very well might have after this, please reach out to your your client success manager. They certainly will be more than happy to help you with that and answer any questions that you might have. So again, I want to thank you all for attending, and we look forward to seeing you on a future webinar here. And again, please reach out to your CSM if you've got any questions. So have a great day, everyone, and thanks again.